Let's go. I almost swore at the very beginning. That's not what I'm supposed to do. Um, welcome in, welcome in. Let me make sure I've got all the right docs pulled up. That is DOCKS TikTok. Just making sure. Hey, agnostic. Quick on the draw as always. Hell yeah. All right. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. How are we doing? Hello, cool.yay. Good to see ya. Trying to adjust my chats. Yeah, sure, that works. Okay, see, this is... I don't want the control panel to be that big. I just want a little bitty. Little bitty. Oh, let's not give me that option. Alright. Yeah, welcome in. Excited to have you guys here. We're running this prompt again. It's been a little while. Well, technically, I've never run it with this precise wording. I've done it as like a question, like why do Christians do this thing? So we'll see how it goes with a slightly different wording. I do have a call screener tonight, so call-in link is open. So if you would like, you can call in at the linktree. Hello?
Hello.
Hey, how's it going? Can I get your name, age, and pronouns?
My name is Sammy. I'm 19, and I'm a he.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me just type that up real quick.
Okay.
What is your religion or lack thereof, Sammy?
I'm a Christian.
Okay. Well, why do Christians defend atrocities?
But they don't, I'd say.
They don't. Okay, wonderful. Now, Sammy, unfortunately, I have to tell you, every single time someone has said that on my stream, within the next few minutes, they proceed to defend atrocities.
Right, but I won't. So.
Okay. I would love to think that you're one of the few that won't. So let's start with the flood. Do you condemn God flooding the earth?
Well, I don't believe it happened.
You don't believe the flood happened? Okay.
Interesting. Because I believe the Bible is like using ancient Near Eastern like stories of that time to bring about like a message of the God.
But you said you are a Christian, so you must believe some of the Bible is true.
Yeah, some of it's true, yeah.
How do you determine which parts are true and which aren't?
Just by I use history as a reference point,
Gotcha. Well, there's very little in the Bible that is correlated with history, so
Right,
I guess you're not actually a Christian because we don't have significant
No.
historical evidence for Jesus's life or death, or especially not resurrection. So if you go off of history, you would believe that none of those were literal, so you wouldn't be a Christian.
Right,
I think we
no,
solved
but
it.
like I believe that like just intuitively, but I about the flood part, we don't have evidence of it happening, so I believe it didn't happen.
Yeah, we also don't have evidence of Christ being crucified and resurrecting, so I don't believe it happened.
Yeah, but what? No. Yeah, but like proof at that time, you cannot prove a person during that time because they didn't have a camera during that time, you know?
Yeah, I'm not asking for photographic evidence. There are things that I believe that happened a long, long time ago because of evidence.
Yeah, okay, sure, but but we still have evidence of Jesus dying, like the disciples, for example. They're evidence. They're people relaying history.
We don't have any named writings from the disciples.
Yeah, we do. The Bible, for example, Luke,
No,
like John,
no, those are
Peter.
written anonymously. They are attributed to certain people, um, but
But yeah,
we don't have any eyewitness accounts of the life of Jesus.
yeah, but they're not anonymous because like the church fathers literally named them. Like those who lived like second centuries, they named who wrote these works.
Yeah, they attributed names to them. That does not mean that we know that those people are the ones who wrote it.
Right, right. But do you agree with me? Like during that time, like oral tradition was like a common thing, right?
Okay. So that
Right.
means that because oral tradition is a thing, that means that the books that they attributed to the disciples must have actually been written by those disciples?
Yeah, because
That
otherwise,
doesn't follow.
what would they? Yeah, but like otherwise, what would they say? Oh yeah, it was Peter that wrote it, for example. That makes no sense.
Yeah, so they were trying to build believability. So they would choose
What?
names that would make it sound more believable. For instance, by implying that it is an eyewitness testimony to the life of Jesus. But we don't have evidence for that.
But okay, hold on. But like, how would you believe anything in history then?
Usually, like, based off of contemporary evidence, but we don't have any contemporary evidence.
Okay, but sure. But like we have very good evidence that people like around those times believe Jesus existed. For example, Josephus. What about Jesus as if he existed? Like people during that time believed he existed.
So, in Josephus's writings, the only time that he mentions Jesus, it's like a complete non sequitur from the surrounding writing. So many scholars believe that it was inserted later into the text, just by virtue of the fact that like it doesn't make sense in the context in which that is. Oh, I didn't do that, Sammy. Okay. Well, we do not have named authors of the Gospels. We have attributed authors, um, but we don't know that those are the right people. Uh, Interesting. All right, Sammy, you're welcome back, I suppose. Hey, how's it going?
It's going good. Thank you so much for having me up.
Yeah, can I get your name, age, and pronouns?
Amy, female, she, her, 30.
Okay, Amy, what is your religion or lack thereof?
I am definitely an atheist, but I was wanting to ask you a question about something that has been heavy on my mind.
Okay. I do ask that you keep it brief. Typically, I only have atheists up on Sundays.
My bad, my bad.
No worries.
I will keep it very quick. My thing is that Mary was between the ages of 11 and 16, which is a child,
Yeah.
and she was not given consent. She did not give consent to be, impregnated with the Holy Spirit, nor did she want to marry Joseph. All of that was against her will. And I find that a lot of Christians not realizing that very unsettling. On top of that, when you look at it today, there is, child X marriage is still legal in a lot of United States in America because of the Abrahamic faiths. And I think it stems from these cultic men wanting to have their own little Mary. And I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I've discussed this with Christians before. The first thing they'll do is they'll try to deny that what we know was the tradition at the time of the marrying age for girls being 12 and a half to 16. Then here's something that commonly happens among particularly Christian men. They don't really have an understanding of consent. Because they will say, well, Mary told God that she was okay with what God was doing with, the conception. But what that fails to take into account is, number one, the fact that she was a child, so she wouldn't have had the ability to consent to something like that. But on top of that, there is a massive power imbalance between one Israelite child and the supposedly all-powerful creator of the universe. It's just the fact that Christians aren't really taught the principles of consent, so they don't see how this is a violation of that consent. They say, well, because she literally said, okay, God, I'm your slave, do whatever you want, that means that she was consenting to it. assenting to something or just saying yes to something is not the same as actual informed consent. So I think that's the disconnect for most Christians, is that they don't understand that just because someone physically says the word yes to something doesn't mean they're actually consenting to that process or even capable of consenting to that process.
Yeah, a child cannot consent.
Yeah, absolutely not.
But yeah, thank you so much. I was just thinking about how prevalent child marriage is within even today's society, and how much women had to fight to protect children and not have them get married at age. Just because at the longest time, like when we had our menstruation, we were then seen as a fully blown woman, but we weren't. We
Right.
weren't. It took a long time for society to catch up to that. Anyways, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you have a good evening, Amy.
You too. Thank you. Drop me down.
Welcome in. Can I get your name, age, and pronouns?
Sykes, age 26, and pronouns, he.
All right. So, Sykes, what is your religion or lack thereof?
I believe in Jesus Christ. I'm not an atheist.
Wonderful. So, what is your religion or lack thereof?
Well, what do you mean by religion?
What do I mean? Sykes, if I have to define the word religion for you, this is not going to be a very productive conversation.
Well, defining words is actually very necessary for debates. So
Define.
defining words, when you provide an explanation for what
Define
something
explanation.
means. Basically, like,
Define basically. Yeah, so that's what it would be like if we just define every single word that we already have like an agreed upon meaning for. So
but we don't have an agreed upon meaning for religion. A lot of people consider religion to be, just like a shared community. Other people believe it to
a
be
shared community. So like a roller derby team is a religion?
people treat sports teams as religions. Yeah,
No, they do not.
yeah, they do.
No.
People worship sports teams. Do you not like? It's so weird that you would deny that when it's literally true.
Yeah, so religion generally applies to a spiritual system of beliefs. That is not what
Well,
sports
so
teams are.
you're already being quite vague. You're saying it generally applies. So there are exceptions to that application. That's exactly why I asked you to define what you mean by religion.
Sure, okay. If I look up a denotation of religion, will that pacify you?
A denotation? I actually don't even know what that word means. I'm not gonna
Oh,
lie.
God. It's a dictionary definition.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can use Oxford Dictionary.
Sure.
I don't mind that. Someone said I'm being disingenuous, but how am I being disingenuous when she literally said generally means? That
Wait a
general
second.
application.
I just recognized your voice. What does omnibenevolent mean?
Omnibenevolent? Or loving?
Yeah. It is you! You're one of my most watched videos.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so we had that discussion before, because you said that omnibenevolent meant all loving, and I corrected you to say no, benevolent means good, not loving. And then I looked it up on Google and I read
Yeah,
it
you're
from
wrong.
the dictionary, and
It doesn't
I
mean
was.
good, it means all loving. I don't
You're
know why
still. You're still holding to that.
Well, yeah, because you're wrong.
Okay.
This is exactly why defining words is so
Well,
important.
you
because
said what you said. I could look it up
atheists
in
just
Oxford
make up-
Dictionary, right?
Well, again, this is why defining
You said
words
Oxford
is so
Dictionary
important.
is your dictionary of choice?
I didn't say that. You said that.
No, you said I could look it up on the Oxford Dictionary when I was talking about religion. So is
Yeah.
Oxford your dictionary of choice?
That you can look up the definition of religion on Oxford Dictionary.
Yeah,
That
but can I
doesn't
look up
make
the definition of benevolent?
Yeah, omnibenevolent means all loving.
It does not. It means all good. I love that you're still holding to the same wrong opinion after I read you like 4 dictionary definitions last time. And after you threw a hissy fit and then left alive because of that. That's crazy that you're still doubling down. This is going to be a great clip, by the way, because I'll be able to cut in from the last time we had this conversation, where you denied what was right in front of your face. And the fact that it's now like probably more than a month later, and you come back and you're holding the exact same... That's rough for you, buddy. Religion. Oh, it wants me to use a fucking account? Religion, belief and acknowledgement of some superhuman, and then it literally has a fucking paywall. But it does say belief or acknowledgement of some superhuman. So sports wouldn't be superhuman, so sports would not count as a religion.
Well, that cutoff definition obviously isn't satisfactory for this discussion. So, I mean,
I'm sorry
tell
that
you what.
cutoff isn't satisfactory. Here, I'm
I'm
gonna
ChatGPT. You can use a ChatGPT definition.
Oh my
that's fine.
god, that's fucking hilarious. So here's what I'll do. I'll do something you didn't quite understand last time. So if I type religion into Google, it pulls up different dictionaries. And in those entries of different dictionaries, it has those dictionaries' definition for that word. So I'm going to look up religion definition, and then we can
Well, I haven't
look...
asked you to do that.
We
So I
can
don't know
look
why.
at because you said it wasn't satisfactory. So what else do you think I'm going to
Yeah,
do
then
if it's not
I suggested
satisfactory?
just type in. I literally just suggested type into ChatGPT definition of religion.
You trust ChatGPT?
I trust ChatGPT as a better search engine than just like a general Google search. Sure.
Okay, well, ChatGPT is known to hallucinate, which is a term for when AI makes things up when it doesn't have the answer that you're looking for.
Well, that is obviously a very consistent, or I guess popular narrative, but a lot of people who say that are coping. They're usually programmers who are losing their jobs. So, yeah, of course they would be motivated to say it's hallucinating and it's not very good because their jobs are being
There's
replaced.
also the fact that ChatGPT is a large language model. It's not even a search engine.
Yeah, and it's so much more convenient and efficient than the Google search.
Is this why
Why
you
are
were
you
so upset when I
coping?
Googled definitions last time? Because you're like,
Well-
ugh, that's not taking up enough water from the environment. What a bitch.
Well, I didn't call you a bitch.
They thought it,
I don't know why we're
probably.
playing a victim complex either. I
Did
don't
you
do
think
victim
it?
complex.
Be honest, Sykes. Did you think it? I thought it about you, if that helps.
I don't do victim complexes, woman. Like, what?
Why did you have to say woman at the end of that? It sounded so unnatural. It's like you went
Are
out
you
of your way to
seriously
misgender me.
Are you, bro? Why are you guys like this? Like, everything is perceived as offense. It's crazy. I call you a woman and you take offense. Do you want me to call you a man instead? Like, what?
No, because I'm also not a man.
So you're not a woman or a man?
Sykes, can you read the words that I'm pointing to on the screen?
You're pointing to an X symbol. Literally. It's like a white X in a
Are you
red.
4 years old? Is this... If I hadn't talked to you before, I would ask, is this your first day on Earth?
Well, no, but like you're like, I don't know why you're crashing out over me calling you a woman. Like that sounds like childish behavior to me.
There's no crashing out happening, but I asked you what words I was pointing to, and you decided to say that I was pointing to an X symbol, when it's very obvious what I'm referring to. Like, this is what happened last time. It was very obvious what I was referring to when I said that I typed the word into Google and then read the definition, and you said something along the lines of, like, oh, so you're telling me you pulled up 3 different dictionaries that quickly?
Oh yeah, now I remember. And then
Yeah.
you started getting butthurt.
I didn't get butthurt. You crashed out and left my stream.
No, I didn't crash out. I was just basically
You
explaining
did,
that.
and once again, this will be a great place to split in that footage.
Well, that's fine, but I mean, it'll just show you being butthurt because I called you out on literally
No, it'll
reading a
show you
false
going,
definition.
"Oh, you're bad at this. You're really bad at this. I can't engage in this," and then leaving. That's what
You know,
you
it's
did
funny that a
actually.
month later you still remember it because obviously it left
Because
its mark.
it's one of my better performing videos because all the people are saying how obnoxious you are in the comments.
I definitely would like a link to that because,
Oh, it's on my profile. You can find it.
yeah, maybe I'll skip it then.
Where the
but-
fuck else did you think it would be?
Well, I thought it'd be like on a YouTube or something, but
I mean, it is on YouTube, but not in the short form, so you'd have to rewatch the whole debate, and that would be really bruising to your ego, Sykes, so I don't know if you want to do that.
I don't have an ego, and clearly you do, but I just don't understand what the issue is with using ChatGPT. And then, you know, the typical hallucination cope. Are you a programmer? Is that why you mentioned that? No? Okay. Well, you know, word of advice, like, well, not really advice. I'm just saying.
I don't need fucking advice from you, Sykes. You can say whatever you're about to say.
Well, I think you do because clearly, you know, your anti-AI position is not based on, you know, actual genuine beliefs. It's just based on hearsay and community think.
Yeah, sure. You can brown nose AI all you want.
Well, you can't brown nose a large language model. That insult doesn't even have any place. That insult doesn't make sense. How can you brown nose a large language model?
Because you're kissing its ass.
Well, because I said it's better than Google search. Seriously?
Because you're claiming the criticisms against it are cope. Because you're saying that it's like a better, more convenient version of search engines, completely ignoring the environmental impacts and the demonstrated history of hallucinations. Also, how there's so many completely unethical business models that prioritize profit and traffic to the website over the safety of its users. That's why we have had instances where ChatGPT specifically has been directly linked to mass pew-pewings because it provided advice to a prospective pew-pewer on how to go about the pew-pewing. It's a tool.
Yeah, but why would you blame the large language model for literally doing what it was created to do?
I'm blaming the lack of safeguards, the lack of protections for people. The fact that conversation wasn't flagged and was allowed to continue is a massive failure on the part of not only the language model, but on the company that runs it. It's also talked people into taking their own lives. Just not cool shit. So I'm not going to be sucking up to AI. No. You ask for the Oxford...
Why would that be an issue for you as an atheist?
You asked for the Oxford definition of religion. When I tried to look it up, it hit me with a paywall. I was able to get far enough to where I know it said that belief or acknowledgement in something superhuman. You were saying that people treat sports as a religion. Nobody in sports is superhuman, so sports would not be a religion. So
But people argue all the time that
I also want to clarify,
NFL
Sykes.
athletes are superhuman. Like, what are you talking about?
They are
People make that argument all the time.
That is a hyperbole. They are literally humans. So,
Well,
Sykes,
you're
I also need to mute you to point out this is, in fact, the first thing I asked you after my introductory questions. We have not gotten past the first question I ask after I get people's name, age, and pronouns, which is, what is your religion or lack thereof? Because you immediately refused to engage directly with my questions and tried to play a semantics game. So here we are, now 13 minutes later, because you refused to answer the first real question I asked you?
Why do people always criticize nuance and specificity and label it as semantics games? I never understand that.
It's not nuance and specificity. It's you pretending, or maybe you are just actually that obtuse, but I hope you're not. But it's you pretending to be obtuse just to derail a conversation. So.
It sounds like you're kind of insisting that I'm acting in bad faith without really
I'm
any
hoping for
evidence.
your sake that you are acting and not that you're genuinely this unintelligent.
Well, I mean, you can hope all you want, but intelligence has nothing to do with me asking for specificity on what you think religion is. I literally told you I believe in Jesus Christ, and I'm not an
So
atheist.
what is your religion?
So I believe in Jesus Christ. I'm not an
Uh-huh.
atheist.
Okay.
Why is that not good enough for you?
Well, Muslims believe that Jesus existed, so you could be Muslim. Are you Muslim?
I'm not Muslim.
Okay.
I'm not Islamic, and
Okay, so
a
there are-
Muslim would never.
They would
Muslim
acknowledge
never
that
say
Jesus existed.
Yeah, but they wouldn't say I believe in Jesus Christ, would they?
They might.
No, they wouldn't. Just as Jews wouldn't say I believe in Jesus Christ.
They could say that they believe he existed.
Yeah, they could say that because he did exist, and that's not disputed among even
Yeah, it's just like, why are you
atheist
so
scholars.
hesitant to call yourself a Christian?
It's not about hesitancy. It's just that
Are
I
you
thought that
embarrassed?
no, I'm not embarrassed to
Are
believe
you
in Jesus
ashamed
Christ.
that you're a Christian?
I'm not ashamed to believe in Jesus Christ.
Are you ashamed that you're a Christian?
I'm not ashamed to believe in Jesus Christ.
You're not answering my question. Are you ashamed to be a Christian?
I'm not ashamed to believe in Jesus Christ.
Are you a Christian?
I believe in Jesus Christ.
If you don't
Why is
answer,
that not good enough
I'm
for
going to
you?
ask you this question, and if you don't answer with a yes or no, you're gone. Are you a Christian?
I believe in Jesus Christ.
He's gone. We didn't get past the first question, folks. Woo-wee. I'm definitely gonna get that clip, split it with the old footage of him being just like that. It was just like that before. Yeah, so if you come in here and you ask me to explain every single word, we're not gonna fucking get anywhere. But it's interesting how many Christians are ashamed to call themselves such. Horse plane? What? Instead of a man's plane, it's a horse plane? Can I explain? Well, I could, but then I'd have to explain. Fucking ridiculous. Define? Ooh. Well, to define without using define, I'd have to explain, but I haven't defined explain. Nor have I explained define. Oh, fuck! Boy, oh boy. Aw, Lou, good to see you lurking about. Womansplain. Maybe he was, I don't know. Lou, you can't be serious. You really can't be serious. Like, I'm hoping that that's... You've got to be a troll. You've got to be. Hey, how's it going? That was sketchy. Do I have any other Sesame Street observations? Observations. That's a big word for Elmo. We've got a lot of Christians in chat, but we don't have anyone requesting up, and we don't have anyone calling in. You can call in at that link there. Would I be able to help you figure out what kind of religion you belong to? I can do it from here. A fake one. Hope that helped. Have we named the goat yet? No. Stop pushing me. Oh, hey, no degree. Good to see you. The goat is not named Boner. It's not named Boner. It's not. Stop saying that. It's not It's not Robot Goon. It's not Roboner. It's not just Boner. No. It's not. But I do like the goat, and I gotta give it a name. How else am I supposed to market it? I gotta market myself, right?
Hello.
Hey, can I get your name, age, and pronouns?
I'm Cora. I'm 21 and my pronouns are she, they. So sorry, I'm trying to find my remote right now so you don't hear my TV in the background. Okay.
So I saw you in comments.
Yes, I'm so sorry. I worded that so wrong. I don't really feel like I just need help figuring it out. I don't really think I belong into a religion.
Okay.
But I don't want to call myself like atheist or agnostic. I don't really know where I fit. Oh, thank you, pancakes.
I would say, so a lot of people are kind of confused about the difference in the terms like atheist and agnostic. So I would say agnostic is a reference to knowledge, whether or not you think we do or can have knowledge of God. Whereas atheist is in reference to belief, whether you have a belief in a God or lack a belief in God. So if you lack a belief in any God, then you would be an atheist. If you think, well, we can't really know if there is a God, but I don't really believe in any particular God, then that would be agnostic atheist.
Because with my beliefs, I do feel as though maybe, because I don't want to say I'm 100%, but I don't. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm scrambling all my words. I'm having like a huge brain fart right now. I do believe like kind of there could be a higher power, but at the same time, it's like I don't know because evolution. Oh my god. I don't know what that was. Because evolution has come so far. It's like maybe we didn't have help like with evolution. Or like
yeah, we definitely didn't need help with evolution. Evolution is a completely natural process.
Sorry, I want to say something about Lewis. Nobody's denying Jesus to fit in. Some people just have different beliefs, I fear.
Ignore. He's just in here to cause trouble.
Agnostic is commonly used in two. Sorry, I'm reading someone's comment.
Yeah, I would not worry about reading the comments, or it's just gonna be. Don't fuel those people. back, ye beasts.
I say.
Yes. Yeah. I think if you are not sure, if you're not sure whether or not you believe in a god, if you think that maybe there is some high power, you could consider yourself like just a theist or a deist, depending on whether or not you think that god still plays like an active part in its creation. Because deism is in reference to those who think that, okay, maybe there was a creator, but once he made the universe, he didn't have any part in it. He didn't have any involvement in it. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you can talk about like theistic beliefs. You could say that you believe in like intelligent design. You shouldn't, by the way. I'm just clarifying. You shouldn't believe in it, but you could say that. So if you think that there was like some sort of being or mind behind the creation of the universe, once again, you shouldn't believe it because it's not true. Just put it out there. Each one of these is like with a little shake of my head, you know?
Yeah, because I don't know. I honestly feel like it's way more believable for a star to explode into a giant ball and then harden, because that's how other planets were made, than Earth just kind of spawning out of nowhere because of Jesus or God.
It's not quite either of those. So it's more the attractive force of gravity pulling particles together.
Yeah.
Gravity, and I'm saying this as well for people who are watching, not just for you.
Huh?
But gravity is an attractive force that exists between everything with mass. So even things in space, we think of space as being zero gravity, but that's not technically true. It's just that because in space there are these large areas where there's not objects with mass, it lessens the force of gravity on other objects. So gravity is going to be inversely proportional to the distance between two objects. So there is gravity between these two regular sized cups.
Mm-hmm.
There's a higher force of gravity between them now, and there's a lower force of gravity between them now. Now, that gravitational force is not enough to move either of these cups. That's why we don't feel the effects of gravity. It is so small that it is not something that we can perceive. But for something that is in a vacuum, anything with mass, it's going to be drawn to other particles, and it can coalesce to form some of these bodies that we see in space.
Oh my goodness, I never knew that.
It's a fun time.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm loving how educated you are because I'm learning a lot right now.
Well, thank you. I try to be.
It's like so many, like all the time when I come across lives and it's people arguing about religion. A lot of times when people like the host, they don't really know what they're talking about a lot.
I like pretending that I don't sometimes just because it's funny. Uh, but I hope I've helped give you some direction here. I'm not sure how much more input I can give you. Do you have any concluding thoughts on it?
Um, if anything, I feel like I might be an atheist because again, I feel like it's way easier to believe in science because science has factual evidence and or proof than a book that's been changed over the course of, I believe, thousands of years that was made by man when stuff in space and just anything in general didn't really have a lot of proof because they didn't have the resources.
Yeah. Well, I'm inclined to agree that most of the things that we used to believe were because of a god, we have now discovered the actual explanations for through science. Um,
Exactly.
so yeah, I would say I don't feel the need to bring a god into the equation. Um, I hope this was helpful to you. I am gonna go ahead and let you go. Uh, you're absolutely welcome to stick around. Um, Approach chat with with caution. Um,
I will approach with lots of caution. I'm seeing a lot of really weird comments.
yeah, that's pretty par for the course around here. Some of them are friendlies. So hey, friendlies, don't be weird.
Yeah. But yeah, you've helped me a lot. I'm not gonna lie. Thank you so, so much.
Totally. Thank you for coming up, Cora.
Thank you.
Bye bye. I don't know why I say it like I'm ending a phone call. I can't ask that of you. I just did. Well, it was less of an asking, more of a telling, right? Like, don't be weird. Um, we're just all gonna be completely chill and cool and normal. Uh, Kermit, you gotta try harder than that. Uh, we've got to be calm, cool, and collected. Um, that is what we all are, right? Well, hey, Megan. Thank you. Yeah, I did hop on a Christian's live last night. Uh, he seemed like a pretty kind, good person. Um, I definitely think there were some gaps in his knowledge on particular subjects. But while watching a scary movie, no, it was pretty late at night. It was like close to 11 o'clock at night. I just went on for a little while because he was having a conversation with someone in comments, and that was a whole thing. But also, thank you to everyone who came in there, and thank you guys for being chill about it. Basically, we were talking about biblical slavery, and I was arguing about how, you know, if this is supposedly an all good, all loving, all moral God, then why does it condone slavery in that God's Bible? Which is a worthwhile talking point, in my opinion. Hey, how's it going?
I'm not quite sure.
Okay, that's vague and ominous. Can I get your name, age, and pronouns?
Oh, a name Cyril and a pronouns he, him. And 26.
Alright, what is your religion or lack thereof?
Oh, religion? I don't necessarily have a religion.
Was that the end of that
But-
sentence? Okay.
But I could be a Christian, maybe.
You can always just also not.
Well, I mean, I've heard different arguments on why I shouldn't be.
Why do you say that you could be?
If I was persuaded and given arguments in favor of that.
Well, you're not gonna get that here. You're gonna get the opposite.
Well, I understand that. Like, I've asked different like Christians and stuff like about like natural disasters and everything like that, why God allows that, and I forgot what they say. A lot of them give the same argument.
Gotcha.
'Cause
What
I-
made you request up here?
Because it says like Christians like defend atrocities, and when you're talking about atrocities, you're talking about like natural disasters, really, right?
No, I wouldn't say that a natural disaster is an atrocity.
Couldn't you make that argument or no?
Well, if someone believed in God and they thought God was causing those natural disasters, then perhaps, but I don't believe that there is a God. So I don't think something that
Or you-
happens because of natural forces is an atrocity.
Are you talking about natural disaster? Oh no, atrocities where like a large group of people are unalived, like kids are unalived, right?
I would say like when there is an event of mass suffering, and I would say that typically an atrocity would have to be caused by a being or an entity or an organization. I don't think when something happens because of natural processes that it would be an atrocity.
I just have not been persuaded in either way, and I don't know what to believe. Because I've listened to people like Alex O'Connor before, and I'm just not quite sure.
Okay, I'm not sure this is the right live for you, I gotta be
Oh,
honest.
maybe not, but have a good day.
Yep, you too. I mean, I respect the honesty. Because yeah, obviously natural disasters are like tragic and there is inflicted suffering, but when something just happens because of natural forces, I wouldn't say that that is atrocious, right? Well, that was brief. If you guys wouldn't mind, we're a little bit slow in here tonight. It would help if you were to tap that screen. You're welcome to do it right in my eyes. I'll even hold them open for a sec. Ow. 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 Okay. You can be a little gentler than that. This is gonna be great clipped out of context. Can I blink now? Are you guys done? I'm gonna do a little bit longer. Okay. Ah, fuck. Whew. just making sure. Well, no degree. I'm kind of tired of talking to you because it's the same conversation every time. Pancakes. You got all 3 fingers going, huh? Which one counts as like the stink for this life? Atrocity suggests agency. Yeah, I agree, Gerbil. Atrocity suggests that there is some kind of intelligence behind it. I don't think that atrocities just happen. You want me to invite up No Degree? I'm not sure you do. I'm not sure you do. It is the same conversation every single time. And I'm kind of just tired of having it. Stream a deformed heart baby and say, God, if you're real, heal this child. If he doesn't exist. Well, I don't know, because I'm not a Christian, so I'm not gonna try to like use the suffering of someone for personal gain. Whoa. Oh, and no, it's an alt account. I can assure you that is, yeah. I've talked to that account before. Looks like we have someone over in our online queue. Welcome in, Jesse. Hey, Jesse, how's it going? Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. So, Jesse, I have here that you are a theist, but not a Christian?
Yes, that's right.
Gotcha. So, what makes you a theist?
I don't know. I just it's nothing that's explainable, I guess, for rational science or anything like that. I just feel the presence of a creator, God, whatever you want to call it, something like that.
Gotcha. And what makes you attribute this to any sort of creator or God?
I guess that's what you would, what the theists would call faith, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, it's just what I feel.
Gotcha. I hate to say it this way, but it kind of sounds like it's just vibes.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. No, you're not wrong.
Are you... typically, religion is a pretty hefty part of someone's worldview. Do you find that your day-to-day life is affected by your belief in this creator God?
I don't know. Sometimes, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I believe in God. I believe there is some sort of structure to the universe. I don't necessarily know what role he has to play in the world or what he does, but I believe there's something going on that's bigger than me, I guess. I don't know.
It kind of seems like you might be doing a little bit of God of the Gaps.
I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, so it basically speaks to when people have places like gaps in their knowledge of certain aspects of the universe, like, okay, well, how did the universe get to this point? Did it begin to exist? If so, how? Where did all this come from? Why is there life? Etc. And because we don't have absolute answers to some of those questions yet, they say, well, then it must be God. So they kind of put this idea of God into the gaps in their knowledge. So it's called God of the Gaps.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I will say if science provides me with an explanation that I find reasonable, I would be perfectly willing to be an atheist if they can prove to me that there was no intelligent design in, the Big Bang and all that stuff. That, what came before all of that? Was it just nothingness and then it sprouted into something? Like, I don't think science has provided me with a good enough explanation to that.
Gotcha. Let me present it to you this way.
Okay.
Is it possible to have a state of existence prior to time?
I don't know the answer to that. What's your answer?
My answer would be no, because time necessarily involves change. Time is a sequence of events. For that to occur, you must have change. For there to be a timeless state, it would have to be an unchanging state, where no sequences of events occur. And it would be logically contradictory for a changeless state to change into a changing state. So because of that, I don't believe that it is possible for there to be a state prior to the existence of time.
Okay.
Now, because of that, it follows to me, time has always existed. If time has always existed, then the universe must have always existed.
Was time always existed?
Well, that's what I just demonstrated to you. If there could not have been a state prior to time, then time must be eternal.
How could there not have been a state prior to time?
The way I just demonstrated, because it would have to be a changeless state, and it would be logically contradictory for a changeless state to change into a changing state.
Okay. Maybe I'm just dumb. I don't know. I'm not following you, but that's fine.
I'm throwing a lot at you at once.
It's
basically
grasp.
Yeah, so for anything to actually occur, there has to be time, right? Because if we define time as like a sequence of events, well, every action that one can possibly take is in a sequence of events. So there couldn't be anything prior to time existing. If that's the case, then how would time begin to exist?
Sure. I guess.
I'm trying to figure out what angle to approach this from.
I could just be stupid.
No, again, I'm throwing a lot at you at once. Basically, to sum it up, I don't think that there is such thing as a state prior to time.
Okay.
So I think time has always existed. It follows then that the universe has always existed. So I believe in an eternal universe. I think when we talk about the Big Bang, most physicists agree, and in a recent survey it was like close to 70% that agree, that it doesn't mean there was an absolute beginning to time or the universe. It's just the beginning of the current state of our universe. And our math kind of breaks down when we try to calculate prior to the Big Bang.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Big Bang is not the beginning of the universe.
No,
it's a change in state of the universe.
Yeah, I wasn't saying that it.
Yeah.
It,
Well, that's
Yeah,
also
I-
kind of for other
I know
people.
half
I hear that a lot.
I just don't understand, and maybe you have a better understanding than I do, I guess. So.
Well, I hope that what I shared maybe provided some information you hadn't heard before.
Yeah, sure. I mostly joined because of the title, the Christians defending atrocities.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, but not all of them do.
Everyone I've met has.
Okay, but like anybody that reads the actual teachings of Jesus Christ would not defend atrocities.
That's kind of a no true Scotsman there.
What does that mean?
Yeah, so you're saying, well, they do this? Well, they're not a real Christian. Why is it up to you to define what a real Christian is? If they call themselves Christians and they believe in Jesus and their interpretation is that these atrocities are okay, you can't say they're not a Christian because of that.
Did Jesus say that they were okay?
Yes.
When?
Yeah, so in Matthew 5, he reaffirms the Old Testament laws of the prophets. Says that if you fail to follow those, you'll be considered least in the kingdom of heaven. And then in the first chapter of Jude, it says that Jesus was the one who destroyed non-believers after the Hebrews left Egypt.
Yeah.
So
You're
that would be
interp-
referring to the genocides.
So, I mean, do you think that every interpretation of every belief is valid then? I mean, Pol Pot slaughtered a bunch of people and he was an atheist. So does that mean that every atheist agrees with Pol Pot?
Atheism isn't a belief system.
It's not?
No.
Okay, explain that one.
Yeah, it's a lack of a belief. A lack of a belief is not a belief.
That makes no sense.
Okay, is it a hobby to not collect stamps?
You could consider it a hobby, sure.
Okay, so you have an infinite number of hobbies?
Yeah, if you want.
So every hobby that you don't have is a hobby.
No, I'm explaining that you can interpret things 1,000 different ways. That doesn't make it true.
No, it's just completely nonsensical to say that not having a hobby is a hobby.
You believe in science, is that correct?
You're trying to pivot from what we were talking about.
No, I'm
So
not.
is it a hobby to not have a hobby?
atheist.
Jesse, is it a hobby to not have a hobby?
I'm not going to answer that stupid question.
Why? Okay, Jesse, why are you getting so defensive all of a sudden? I'm
Because I want
maintaining a
to answer
very
this.
even keel tone.
Is it a hobby to not have a hobby? What do you believe? You believe something. You
I
believe that
lack a belief
you lack a belief.
in God.
Okay. What do you believe instead of that? You believe in science creating the universe, correct? You believe that time has always existed and
Yeah, I specifically said I think the universe is eternal. And
Okay.
science...
that's a belief. Would you say that that's a belief?
It's not a religious belief, no.
I didn't say it was a religious belief. I said it was a belief. That
Well, I
is what
have
you-
things that I think are true,
Okay.
but that's not... Atheism is not a belief system.
What? Well, no, it's
Atheism is
it's
not a belief
religion.
system.
Is that what your definition of a belief system is? You
Well,
believe that there
it is true that it is also not a religion, but it is not a belief system. It is a lack of belief in a god or gods.
Okay, that is a belief in itself. You believe that there is not a god or gods.
No, I'm not actively claiming there is no god. I lack a belief in any god.
Okay. Do I need to pull up the Webster Dictionary of belief?
It depends. How much are you trying to mansplain to me what my own
And
position is?
That's what it is.
Yeah, you're trying to explain
believe
atheism
that I have
to
no
an
belief.
atheist.
What? You don't have to be an atheist to understand the definition of atheism.
Yeah, I understand the definition of atheism, and I'm explaining to you that is a lack of belief in God
lack
or
of
gods.
belief is a
Lack
belief.
of belief is not a belief. That would
You
be a
believe-
contradiction.
You say that you believe that there is no God.
No.
Explain that one to me.
Okay. Lacking a belief in God is not the same thing as believing there is no God.
Okay. So, based on the evidence that you have, you believe that there is no God.
No, I lack a belief in God.
Okay, explain it.
What part of that do I need to explain?
That I just don't think you understand the definition of believe.
A lack of belief cannot be a belief.
You don't believe the evidence that there is a God. Is that correct?
What?
You don't believe that there's evidence of a creator, of a God.
I don't think that there is sufficient evidence for me to believe in a God. That does not mean that I actively disbelieve in the existence of God or a creator or deities.
So
Now, there
you're
are specific religions that, because they don't comport with reality, I say I don't believe in.
okay.
But
So you're agnostic?
I'm an agnostic atheist.
Okay. I don't think that those two things go together. I think you would just call yourself an agnostic.
Well, since I lack a belief in God, that would make me an atheist.
You're right. And not an agnostic atheist.
No, agnostic refers to whether or not I think we can have knowledge or whether we do have knowledge of a God. I don't think that we do. I'm not sure that we can, because if there was a creator, I think it would be beyond our comprehension and beyond our ability to perceive. It would break the laws of logic. So it would be something that would be impossible for us to observe. That's my personal stance on it. That's not what all agnostics think. But because I hold that to be true, and I also lack a belief in any particular god or gods,
Yes.
then I'm an agnostic atheist. But Jesse, it's interesting how this seems to be of such importance to you, the way that I define atheism.
It's not really important to me. It's just,
Well, we spent quite a while on it.
I know, I'm bored. Yeah, I just think that,
I mean, you could try not being boring.
yeah, I could, but it's hard.
I know.
Yeah. No, I just, I think it's funny that you failed to admit that you have a belief system.
Atheism is not a belief system.
Okay.
You can say that there are things that I believe,
Mm-hmm.
but that is not
Like a
related.
system
That is
of
not.
beliefs.
That is not atheism. Atheism is not that system of beliefs. Atheism simply refers to the fact that I lack a belief in God.
Okay.
Do I believe that the world that I perceive around me is real? Sure. That has nothing to do with atheism.
Okay.
Do I believe that Gallivant should have gotten another season? Absolutely. That's not a belief system. Like,
I don't know what that show is. But
and not enough people do.
what is it?
It's a musical. It's great.
Is it?
Yeah.
What's it
So it's like a
on Netflix?
yeah, it's a fantasy musical. It used to be on Netflix. I'm not sure if it used to, but it has Joshua Sass, Timothy Obmanson from Psych, a lot of music by like Alan Menken. So it's like some of the great. It's really great. Go watch Gallivant. But that doesn't mean that it is my belief system simply because there are things that I believe. I don't believe that we have sufficient evidence for me to accept any God claim.
Okay. And I accept that. I just think that you should call that a belief structure. We're going in circles, so it's we'll end it there. But the Christians defending atrocities thing, that's what I had a problem with. So
yeah, well, every single one I've talked to does do that.
yeah, I don't. I mean, every single one that you've talked to, that doesn't mean that every single one believes that.
Well, it's kind of the result of their religion, because Christians hold that their God is all good.
Would you make a title that says that Islamists defend atrocities? Would you do that stream?
I mean, that is something that I believe, but I wasn't Muslim for 17 years. I wouldn't be able to talk about the Quran the way I do the Bible simply because I haven't had enough background knowledge in it. I was a Christian for a very long time. I studied the Bible for a very long time. So I talk about Christianity because it's what I know.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that I don't have any, like, criticisms for other religions. When I do talk to Muslims, I do condemn the Quran.
That's fine. Then I have no issues there. So.
Great.
But Well, go watch Gallivant.
Fuck, I guess that's what this all comes down to.
Go watch it. It's
Yep.
a musical. It could be on Netflix. It could be on Amazon Prime. We don't know.
I haven't watched it in a while. But it's really good. All right. Have
Enjoy
a good rest of your evening, Jesse. Look, Gallivant is really good. Hey there, how's it going?
Yo, can you hear me?
I can. Can I get your name, age, and pronouns?
Yo, Jonathan, I'm 30, and I'm a dude.
Okay, so what are your pronouns?
He, him.
Gotcha. All right, so Jonathan, what is your religion or lack thereof?
I am Christian.
Gotcha. Why do Christians defend atrocities?
What atrocities are you particularly talking about?
Yeah, so there's a lot. Let's start with, how about the flood?
The flood.
Yeah, first, do you
Well-
believe it happened?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so you believe it literally happened. So you
Yes.
condemn it, obviously.
No.
Oh. That's gonna... You might be proving my point here a little, Jonathan.
Okay, so so let's say this. If you take the Bible literally, right, God is the creator of the universe. He made the earth in 7 days, or 6 days technically, and
And then
he
a
has
rest
the
day.
right.
Yep.
Yeah, he has the right to do whatever he wants with it. He made everybody, and he says, you know what? I'm going to flood the earth because this isn't working out, and I'm going to redo it. If he has the right over his creation, then why doesn't he have the right to destroy half of mankind?
Is he all good?
Yes.
Is it good to intentionally inflict suffering?
He can do whatever he wants to because he's God.
That's not what I asked. I asked, is it good to intentionally inflict suffering?
If it, let's say this. Did God allow intentional suffering on Job? Yes.
I didn't ask allowing. Is it good to inflict intentional suffering?
If God does it, then yes, it's good.
Well, that's special pleading.
Mm-hmm.
You're just
If
gonna
God
say,
has a
you're just gonna
reason
say,
for
yep,
it.
I'm doing a fallacy. You're not gonna.
If God is doing it for a reason, why does God cause suffering in my life for? Why do I do this thing and that? It's for God's purposes. And I can't understand God's purposes for everything. But I believe God is good, and he uses all that bad things happen, whether he does them or not, for his glory. And ultimately for some great purpose that I trust that he's going to do and take care of.
Yeah, see, that's part of where the problem lies, Jonathan. It's that for Christians, there's a little bit of cognitive dissonance that happens because they believe that their God is all good. So anytime their God does something that is so obviously atrocious, they have to make it fit into that belief that God is good by saying, well, that must just be good in a way that we can't possibly understand. But that's... You're kind of doing it backwards there. You're saying, okay, well, this has to be good because God did it. So then any action is suddenly good? Like condoning slavery. Surely that's not good.
There's only 3 forms of slavery that God condones in the Old Testament scriptures.
That's 3 too many, my friend.
So he condones slavery for POWs. He condones slavery for people. Well, let me think of the 3 for a second. He is okay with indentured servitude, people who sell themselves into slavery, and also he's for slavery for. What's the other one? So, yeah.
The number should be 0. It should be a big old goose egg.
So if slavery is bad, why did God lead his people into Egypt for 400 years to be enslaved to the Egyptians?
Why did God free his people from that enslavement?
But then also allowed them to be slave owners?
Yeah. It doesn't make sense, does it? It's almost like it's not real.
Or maybe slavery wasn't the problem.
I think slavery was a fucking problem.
I don't know. To some degree, you have to look at the Old Testament, right? So, when you think of slavery, right, the biblical definition of slavery, right, is not the colonial American Roman slavery that we as Americans or Romans performed. That's not the biblical ordained slavery. So, but here's the thing.
You're saying something that's not true. I'm going to correct you. It is.
Hang on. So, in the Old Testament, if you hit your slave and injured them, they were free to go and leave you. Yeah, it says that in the Old Testament.
No, it says specifically if you take out an eye or a tooth, they are free to go. However, 4 verses earlier, Exodus 21:20 through 21, it says that you can beat your slave with a rod, and as long as they don't immediately die, there is no punishment for the slave owner. So it does not say that if you hit them, they can go free. It says that you will only be punished if they die as a direct, immediate result from your beating.
Okay. One thing that doesn't make sense, though, is that God's people, right, are freed from slavery from Egypt. They endured awful suffering under the Egyptians for that long time, right? Wouldn't the idea that, hey, let's treat our fellow slaves the exact same way that we were treated, I don't think that was God's intention at all.
Then why wouldn't God specify that they weren't supposed to do that? Why would God allow them to beat their slaves to the point of nearly dying?
Well, here's the thing. I have to reread that because I can't argue against that right now.
That's fair.
But I do have to reread that. But I just know that just reading the Old Testament, right? So, like, why would God, for instance, like a part of, like a part of the Sabbath day, right? A part of the Sabbath day was to have your servants also take the day off as well, right? They were to be treated as a human being to rest in God as well.
But they were also property if they were not Israelites. Like you mentioned that the biblical slavery is not the same as the Atlantic slave trade. When people are talking about that, they're usually referring specifically to the indentured servitude that applies specifically to Israelite men. The rules for Israelite men that were slaves as a result of indentured servitude are very, very different than the rules for foreign slaves. So in Leviticus 25:44 through 46, it's stated that they can take slaves from the nations around them, and those slaves can be passed down to their children as a form of inheritance, that the slaves are to be their property. So those slaves were seen as property rather than people. But in that same passage it says, as for your fellow Israelites, no one shall rule over one another with harshness. So to the Israelite slaves, they are supposed to be kinder. To the foreign slaves, they do not get that same kind of consideration. So the foreign slaves are seen as property. They are passed down as inheritance. They are not treated as if they are people.
Okay. The let's see here. What other atrocity?
I mean, the flood and slavery are some big ones. Another one I would say is in Numbers 31, where God allows the Israelites to take little girls as sex slaves.
I do have to read that again.
Yeah, so it's the Midianites specifically. And he says of the Midianites that they are to kill all of the boys and the men and the women who have known a man by sleeping with him, but they are to keep the virgin girls for themselves.
Okay. I have a good argument for that one, but I do need to read that one again.
Okay. So that would be another atrocity. We can also just go into the idea of hell if you wanted to talk about that one. The
Yeah.
idea that
So
there is
hell,
an all-loving
you know,
God who would create hell in the first place.
yeah. So hell. So really, what that is so you've obviously grown up in the Christian faith. You know this stuff a lot. So there's sin, right, that we commit, and there's a holy God, right? So God cannot be near sin. Also, there's justice that needs to be made on behalf of God as well. And so hell is basically the wage of sin is death. So ultimately, hell is truly just death.
Who decided that the wages of sin were death?
God did. Actually, let me take that back. I know God said from the beginning that if you eat of this tree of knowledge of good and evil, you will die. Right? That is the wages of disobedience to God.
Yeah, but
So whether or not God created death or not, that's the interesting question.
but did God decide that the wages of sin would be death?
Did God decide? I mean, he said that. How that works out, I don't fully know.
Well, if he's all powerful, wouldn't that have to be something that he can control?
Yeah, so this is going to sound bad, but ultimately, God is the writer of the story, and he decides what is and what isn't. Right? Like, why did God decide that, hey, I need to send my son to die for you on the cross? Like,
Well,
there's a
yeah,
lot
it
of stuff.
wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
Nothing is ever necessary for God if he is all powerful, because he can always do something a different way. There's no restrictions on his power.
Yeah. Ultimately, though, if he decides that's how it's done, I to some degree have to agree with him and obey him in that sense of the word. Whether or not I fully understand it or whether or not I like it, right? That's a sense of like you have to play the game by the rules,
Well,
and then that's how it works.
that kind of just sounds like a, oh, well, his ways are higher sort of thing.
Yeah, that's what ultimately where I have to go.
But that's also referred to, and I think it's accurately so, as a thought-stopping cliche. It's kind of just saying, well, I don't understand this, so it must just be beyond my understanding. That it's a little bit of a cop-out. A lot of it,
I can ask
actually.
you a question about the universe, and if you don't have the answer to it, you can say, well, science hasn't figured that thing out yet. And that's kind of where you have to leave off with that as well.
But I'm not claiming that I have the answers. You're saying, well, the answer is that God knows it.
Yeah, I mean, I can read the Word of God and keep on reading. But also, there may
but
be a
you're
point
going to
to-
get contradictory messaging from that, right? Because it's going to tell you that God is all loving, and then it's going to show your God condoning slavery. It's going to tell you that your God is all loving, and then it's going to have your God commanding that the daughters of priests should be burned in the fire if they have sex before marriage. Those two things don't work together. But because you have this pre-existing belief that God is all good, you have to try to force them to fit together.
Yeah. I have a question for you. So, if you don't believe in a God, then how can you say, well, God is immoral then? If there is no morality, then?
I don't think that there is no morality. I think that we can get our moral systems without needing a god. And I can call God immoral the same way that I can call other fictional characters immoral. I can call Voldemort immoral because he was Wizard Hitler. That doesn't mean that I actually believe Voldemort existed. I can look at the actions of that character in the story that treats them as if they're real, and make determinations based off of that.
But why do you believe that Voldemort is evil, though? Like, where do you get the concept of that?
Yeah, I will acknowledge that this is a little bit of a burden shift on your part. But personally, I try my best to follow just logical consistency. If I think that I have a right to life and well-being because I am a moral agent, to be logically consistent, I must afford that same right to other moral agents. So that means that I have a moral obligation not to infringe upon the life and well-being of other moral agents.
Okay. Okay. The yeah. You heard the tag argument?
I have, and it's weak sauce.
Basically, like, if you're on the second floor, right? How do you know that there's a second floor without first understand that there's a first floor? That's kind of the argument, right?
That's not really tag.
It's the I think so. Let me see.
No, tag is that God is like the necessary condition to ground knowledge and logic.
Oh, I'm thinking of something else then, I think. Okay. Okay. No, but like there's like the understanding like okay, if there's laws in the universe that there's something had to put those laws in place. Right?
Yeah, I think that when calling them a law, it's just our way of conceptualizing things that we already observed. So I don't think those laws exist objectively. It's just our means of understanding something. Like, it's our map to the terrain. The map only exists because we drew it up, but the terrain would exist regardless of whether or not we made a map of it.
Yeah. But you understand that like gravity isn't going to stop working tomorrow. I mean, obviously there is something in place that which prevents us from floating off the ground.
Sure, I acknowledge the gravity exists.
So that's my point is like there is something in place which prevents something from happening. Where did that come from?
But it doesn't imply intelligence whatsoever.
I mean, in my perspective, like, can you look at the universe and how wonderful life is in nature and say, yeah, there's a reason people think there's a God? Like,
I
could you admit
understand
that?
why people think that way because I also used to.
Mhm.
But I think if a lot of people sat down and really critically thought about it, they wouldn't feel the need to say that God did it. Again, I used to, when I was a believer, think the same thing. So sure, I can understand why people would think that. I can understand why people would think a lot of wrong things. That doesn't mean that I think that they're true, or even good beliefs.
Yeah, I mean, like the universe and nature itself and just everything in it is so complex and just like, you know, you read the first book page on a biology book and you're like, man, like this is crazy. You know, like, so,
But then
like
you read
our
the rest of the
planet
biology
Earth, think
book
about,
and you're like, oh, that's why that is the way it is.
I mean, think about like planet Earth, right? We're the only, as so far as we know, right? The only habitable planet in the universe right now. Any other planet we couldn't live on, right? We are perfectly designed, as you could say. We are specifically placed at a spot as close to the sun and far away from the sun, and just how everything works together, and Earth just works, right? That's not by chance.
So I'm going to give you a little bit of an analogy here relating to what you just talked about. So if there is a pothole, and in that pothole there is a puddle, and that puddle comes to life, and that puddle says, wow, it's so crazy that this pothole is perfectly shaped for me to be in it. This pothole is designed just for me. Is that puddle making a reasonable observation?
I mean, in your hypothetical argument, maybe, but it's a hypothetical argument,
But
right?
did the pothole form to that specific shape to fit the puddle? Or did the puddle fit the shape inside the pothole?
Well, no, the pothole was just formed over time by chance.
And the water inside took on the shape of the pothole, right? So if the water in the pothole says, I can't believe this thing is shaped just for me, it's the other way around in reality. So when you say, oh, like, this place was perfectly designed and we were perfectly designed to be on it, well, it's more like this place formed over time and we formed in a way that fits to the constraints of this world. If it had been a different planet, we would have formed differently. So it's not necessarily that we are perfectly designed for this planet. It's that we are the product of this planet.
Mm-hmm. Still doesn't explain how it started, or how everything came to be perfectly aligned together.
That's not perfectly, though.
I mean, the fact we're breathing oxygen and everything like that. I mean, like, it all seems to be pretty concise together.
Sure,
You
we
know?
breathe oxygen, but we also have cancer. We have genetic disorders that carry on through generations. We have a breathing tube right next to our feeding tube, so when we eat, we can choke to death. Our bodies fail us. It's not perfect.
Well, I have the answer for why we're not perfect, but
I don't want to go into the fall right now. Because then you'd have to, if you're trying to say that before the fall we had a separate eating and breathing tube, I'm gonna ask y'all where Adam and Eve pooped out of.
Well, no. Yeah, I don't know exactly what Adam and Eve look like. I can only assume they look like us. But, whether or not the fall and sin and like death and like cancer and things like that stuff didn't exist. So you didn't have death. You didn't have entropy. You didn't have things like that.
What were the animals eating in the garden?
Probably fruits and plants.
Are plants alive?
Just okay. Death as in sense of like a human being. No.
I got you there.
I mean, here's the thing. Adam was called to tend the garden, right? That would mean he'd have to chop away plants and tend the garden because things grew up. So plants, yes, can die, but it's not the death in sense of like me and you physically dying and rotting away. That's not the kind of death that I'm
Plants
talking
would have rotted
about.
away.
True.
You're just talking about whether or not they're conscious to realize that it's happening to them, but that doesn't mean that there wasn't death. Jonathan, I do have quite a few other people in my queue now, so I think I am going to go ahead and let you go.
You're all good.
Good talking to you. I hope you have a good rest of your evening.
See ya. Bye.
Bye. We are going to bring up a guest from our queue over on the Linktree. Michael, hey, you able to hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. Michael, I have here that you are a Protestant Christian. Is that correct?
Yes.
Great. So, Michael, why do Christians defend atrocities?
Christians, we as Christians don't defend atrocities. We defend that there are bad things that happen and that God punishes people for doing bad things.
Gotcha. What bad things did the Amalekite infants do?
Well, the Amalekite infants didn't do anything wrong because they're infants, but they did. They will continue to do bad things.
But you said God punishes people for doing bad things, but the Amalekite infants hadn't done any bad things, and they were still punished. So God does punish people regardless of whether or not they've done bad things?
Well, they can be punished because of what their parents have done.
How is that just?
Well, it's sort of a mystery.
A mystery? We have a mystery on our hands. I'm not sure what you mean by mystery. It's just pretty clearly unjust. Justice would be if people get what they deserve, right? And if those infants didn't do anything to deserve the death penalty, then what happened to them wasn't just.
Well, I mean, I think that children can be punished because of what their parents have done.
But how is that justice? You'd still need to explain to me how that is just. If they were not involved in whatever the parents did that was wrong, why are they receiving any sort of punishment for it?
I just said it's a mystery. We don't really truly know why God does things
Right,
that he does.
I'm not necessarily asking why. I'm asking how is it justice?
Well, I think it's just because they would probably grow up, because God already knows the future. He knows that they would grow up to do the same thing as their evil parents.
Could God have changed the course of their life so that they wouldn't have done that?
I mean, yeah, they could have. He could, but I mean, they were essentially punished for what their parents have done because God already knew the future. So yeah, God could have changed what they've done, but he always gives people free will, so he already knows the future.
Gotcha. Is it unjust then that we don't also execute the children of people on death row?
Well, that's a bit of a different story because God doesn't act the way he would thousands of years ago because it was all different back then. People
I'm not
didn't
asking about
have-
God. If it's perfectly just, because God is perfectly just, if it's perfectly just to punish children with the death penalty for their parents' mistakes, then wouldn't it follow that it would be perfectly just for us to execute the children of death row inmates?
No, it wouldn't be just to
Why not?
unalive babies because they're infants. They've done nothing wrong.
Okay, so the Malachite infants had also done nothing wrong. So
Well,
how is it just in one situation and not in the other?
Well, because you're talking about ancient, something ancient that happened thousands of years ago. It's a bit different thousands of years later now.
How so? If God is perfectly moral, his actions would have to be moral then and moral now.
Well, some may argue because God is a life giver and he has authority over life and death. He has the right to give your life and to take your life because he's God. And whatever God does is good because he created morals.
So just to clarify, are you saying that what he did was just, or that it became just because God did it?
I think that there's a problem of evil and suffering that if you want to say what God did was evil, you would have to also define as an atheist what evil actually is. You can't just pick and choose. I think morality is an objective thing. You can't.
So I'm careful here not to ascribe evil as like a transcendental category. I think it's just a label that we apply to things that we think people ought to do or ought not do. That being like good is what we ought to do, bad is what we ought not do. So when I say that it's like an atrocity, I would say that I think it's something we ought not do. But again, you started with, well, it is just to punish the children because of what their parents did. But then you said that it wasn't just to punish the infants because they are infants and they had no part in what their parents did wrong. But then you later said, well, it's okay because God is the arbiter of justice, so God gets to do that however he wants. And because he's creator, it doesn't matter if what he does is just or not, because he has the right to take that life because he is the life giver. So those are a bunch of kind of conflicting answers to how God could command something that is so obviously atrocious.
Okay, so you think it's bad to kill infants, right? You think that's a bad thing, that's evil.
I don't believe in the transcendental categories. Whoa, what just happened? Sorry, what? My stream just got a massive block of text across that just said live stream on YouTube. That was strange. Yeah, again, I'm not saying that there are these absolute, like, objective good and evil. I'm saying I think that we ought not do those things.
Yeah.
And if God is claiming to be perfectly moral, and perfectly just, this does not seem to be perfect justice, because how is perfect justice punishing someone who doesn't deserve it?
Well, I would say that, unaliving, infants is bad. I would agree with that. But also at the same time, I think, it's also bad to, unalive infants, when they're still in the womb, because obviously I don't agree with abortion as a Christian. So why is it okay
I
for
don't
women
really care to
do
pivot
that?
to abortion right now, Michael. Women aren't claiming to be perfectly moral creators of the universe and perfectly just. There's also the fact that abortion doesn't relate to babies or infants whatsoever, but I don't really want to pivot to abortion right now. So you said that you think it is wrong to kill infants. Your God has killed infants himself in the Bible and also commands the killing of infants in the Bible. So how can you say that you believe this is wrong, yet you believe your God is all good when he does that thing?
Well, I believe that God is all good and he can do as he pleases, but he doesn't do anything randomly. There's always a meaning to everything that he does, and the meaning of why he killed the infants and the Malachite infants is simply because they already were going to be taught to do other evil acts as their parents would have taught them to do, because the Amalekites would have, attacked the Israelites whilst they were uh, vulnerable. And
Well, that
I
was
think that,
hundreds of years prior that they did that. But I just want to clarify. So is it that God was just because he knew that they were going to be evil, even though he could have changed the outcome of their lives so they wouldn't be evil?
well, I believe in free will.
Right,
I believe that there's free will.
but could God have, in theory, created a universe where their free will would be intact, yet they wouldn't grow up to be evil? Because
Well, then that would,
God is what puts everything in motion, and he's all knowing, right?
yeah.
So he knows if I shift this one molecule to the left, this person's favorite color is going to be blue instead of green. So if he shifts that molecule to the left, is he influencing that person's favorite color?
Yeah, God can influence people in a
So
good way, but he can't force people to, for example, God cannot force people to love him.
But if God knows if I shift this molecule to the left, this person's favorite color will be green, and he does that, is there any universe, like, is there any possible way that person's favorite color won't be green?
Well, your favorite color is subjective.
But if God has absolute foreknowledge and knows if I move this molecule to the left, their favorite color is going to be green, is there
What
any outcome
molecule?
in which it's not?
What
Could be
molecule?
it could be any molecule. I'm just trying to make an example of a tiny change that God could make. So if God decides I'm going to shift this molecule, I understand. I'm saying it's like the butterfly effect is what I'm talking about, basically. If God shifts one single molecule, well, Jimmy in South Carolina is going to have a favorite color of green instead of blue. Sorry to any Jimmys in South Carolina watching. So if he does that, is there any possibility that Jimmy's favorite color won't be green?
I mean, yeah. I mean, the Bible says anything with God is impossible. I mean, anything with God is possible.
But if he has perfect foreknowledge and he knows that Jimmy's favorite color is going to be green, wouldn't it conflict with the idea that he has perfect foreknowledge if Jimmy's favorite color isn't green?
Wait, sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah, so if God is all-knowing,
Mm-hmm.
he has perfect foreknowledge. He knows everything that is going to happen. So if God knows that Jimmy's favorite color is going to be green if he shifts this molecule over, it would conflict with him being all-knowing if Jimmy's favorite color is not green. because then God would have been wrong in his knowledge, and then he wouldn't be all-knowing. So it would conflict with God being all-knowing if Jimmy's favorite color isn't green. So is it possible for Jimmy to have a different favorite color?
I mean, yeah, it's possible. I mean, Jimmy can like whatever color he wants.
Okay,
He
then
could-
God
he could
wouldn't
like
be
pink or
all-knowing.
purple. Well, you're creating an analogy where I believe it's a false analogy, because you're saying that God is not all-knowing when he is all-knowing.
No, I'm
That's what
saying if God's knowledge is wrong, then he wouldn't be all-knowing.
if God's foreknowledge is wrong, then he wouldn't be all-knowing. Yeah, that's
Right.
true. But
So
God's
if God
foreknowledge
has
is all-knowing.
But if God has foreknowledge, Jimmy's favorite color is going to be green, and then, like you said, Jimmy's favorite color is pink or purple, does that align with God's foreknowledge?
I mean, it wouldn't, but that's
so
just
would
a
his
false
foreknowledge
analogy.
be wrong?
No, his foreknowledge cannot be wrong. He knows all
Okay,
things.
so is it possible then for Jimmy to have a favorite color other than green?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a contradiction.
Why?
Because you're saying his foreknowledge can't be wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but also his foreknowledge can be wrong. Because if Jimmy's favorite color is not green, that means God's foreknowledge is wrong. So you're affirming God's foreknowledge can be wrong by saying that Jimmy could have a different favorite color. But you're also saying God's foreknowledge can't be wrong because he's all-knowing. To hold that God's foreknowledge both can and can't be wrong simultaneously is a contradiction.
Well, I think that could be a sort of a paradox, and that
It's not a paradox, it's just a contradiction.
people can, say something that is true, and also say something that is false, but still be true.
That just goes against logic.
No, because God created logic. Logic comes from God. It's like the Pinocchio paradox. I mean,
so if God created logic, does that mean he's not bound by logic?
No, God is still bound by logic. God can't cease to exist and exist at the same time. That's against logic.
But
so
if God
even God goes
if
by
God
logic.
created logic, though, then he would have to have come before logic. So how is he bound by something that he predates?
Well, I think logic has always existed because God has always existed.
So then God didn't create it if it has always existed.
Yes, because logic has always existed.
So God did not create logic.
Well, I believe that logic is something that has always existed.
Right, but to create something is to bring it into existence. So you can't say that logic has always existed, yet there was a period in which it was brought into existence.
Well, obviously, before humans existed, I mean, you have this. I mean, do you know the 3 laws of logic?
Yes, I do, and I can point out how you've broken them, because you affirmed a contradiction.
Okay. But one of the laws of logic is the law of nature, which means that basically logic still applies to us even before we exist. For example, if there were no humans on Earth that existed, would it be...
I'm sorry, can you tell me the 3 laws of logic?
Yes. The 3 laws of logic is the law of identity, the law of non-contradiction, and the law of excluded middle.
So where's the law of nature fit into that?
Well, the law of nature is essentially the same thing as the law of identity, because logic always existed before humans even ever existed.
The law of identity has nothing to say with whether or not logic existed prior to humans.
But the logic is I'm just saying logic has always existed even before humans existed. That's why if I say...
That's not what the law of identity says.
Okay, so what does the law of identity say?
It's just that A is A. Not A is not A. So, like, this cup is this cup. It's
Mhm.
not something else. This cup is not this cup. It has nothing to do with whether or not logic predates humanity.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. I made a mistake. Yeah, that is true.
Appreciate you saying
Yeah.
so.
I made a mistake. I meant to say the law of. I didn't mean to say that. I meant to say the law of identity, not the law of logic.
Okay.
I mean, not the law of nature.
Yeah, so
I meant the law. I didn't mean that. I meant the law of identity. That's what I meant.
okay. Yeah, my problem is still just it's a little contradictory to say that God can have perfect foreknowledge, yet because of free will his foreknowledge can be wrong. Because it can't
I
be
don't
perfect
believe that
if
his
there's
foreknowledge can be wrong because he's God.
Okay, then our free will can never contradict God's foreknowledge. So God already knows. So we cannot choose a path different than what God already knows we're going to do.
Could you repeat that?
Yeah, we cannot choose a path other than the one that God has already determined that we're going to do.
Yes, but we still have free will.
Is it really free will if it's impossible for us to make a choice other than the one God already knows we'll make?
No, because we choose what we want to do.
But is it possible, again, this comes down to, can Jimmy have a favorite color other than green?
Well, that's the thing, because God is all knowing. Just because he knows all things,
Right, so-
including the future,
so
doesn't mean
does-
you don't have free will.
So does Jimmy have the free will to have a color other than green?
Yes.
So God's foreknowledge can be wrong.
No, I don't know why you keep saying that.
Because if Jimmy's favorite color is not green, then that goes against God's foreknowledge.
Well, people's
So that would
favorite
make
color
God's
can change.
foreknowledge wrong.
People's favorite color can change. When I was a kid,
I
like the
understand
color
that, but
blue,
in this
but now I like
hypothetical, we're talking about in the same instant. If God knows I'm going to move this molecule to the left, that means Jimmy's favorite color is going to be green. And he does
can
that.
Can you tell me what a molecule is?
A molecule?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like a particle that makes up matter. So like a molecule of water would be H2O.
So what would change Jimmy's opinion on his favorite color to
God
from
just
green to,
knows
like,
that by
red?
making this teeny tiny change, that down the line it'll cause Jimmy's favorite color to be green.
So would it be a molecule in his? Like I want to be specific. Is it? his
The
molecule
mechanics
in
don't
red?
really matter. God just knows, with his perfect foreknowledge, that because he's done this action of moving this molecule, that Jimmy's favorite color is going to be green. He knows that with absolute certainty.
Okay. I think that's an opinion, though.
You think it's an opinion that he knows it with certainty?
No, I think your favorite color is an opinion.
Well, sure, but it's not about whether or not this is like objectively the best color. We're talking about whether or not God knows with absolute certainty that his favorite color will be green.
Well, green is objectively not the best color. Objectively,
There's
the
no
color red is the best color.
What?
Yeah, that's a fact.
Michael.
Everyone loves red.
Michael.
Are you disagreeing?
There's no objective best color. I need you to be more serious with me here. I do have other people waiting.
Alright then. I suppose you can move on.
Alright. You have a good rest of your evening, Michael.
Alright then, bye.
Interesting. Alright, I've got another guest who's been waiting about half an hour over on the other queue Do I still have someone in the TikTok queue? I had someone before. I see you in there, Daryl. I'm going to take this other caller and then you. Hello, Joan of Arc. Can you hear me?
Oh, hello.
Hey, what's your name?
Carlos.
Gotcha. Okay, just trying to make sure I have you matched up with the right person here. So you are leaning Christian / Mormon is what I have?
Yes, it depends on how you define Christian.
Depends on how you define Christian. Okay. How do you define Christian?
Whoever the Jesus of Nazareth was, I follow that guy.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I guess I can agree to that being Christian. So why do Christians defend atrocities?
Well, I will agree that they do, depending on how you define Christian.
Okay, so even though you consider yourself a Christian, you do not think you defend atrocities.
I do not. I personally do not.
Gotcha. Do you believe in the Old Testament?
To a degree, yes.
To a degree. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Do you mind if I come at it from a Mormon perspective?
Sure. I just ask that you leave the racism out of it.
Yeah, that's fine. We can do that. I'm brown. I'll leave that out. So, Mormons don't believe in sola scriptura. We don't believe that the Bible is a perfect representation of God's word. It's not a perfect book. It's created by humans. Humans make mistakes. It's unfortunate it happens. But we don't blame the anonymous authors of the Bible. They gave their best shot. It wasn't perfect, though. Unfortunate.
But the Book of Mormon is?
We don't believe that the Book of Mormon is perfect either. It's still capable of error.
Gotcha. Because there's a lot of really wild, very provably false things in there. So I'm glad that you say that. So do you believe that, like, the flood happened?
No. Personally, no. It's not
Gotcha.
official church doctrine that a flood occurred. In my opinion, it's probably, what's the word? Like, it's an analogy, a story used to perpetuate or to push a moral truth.
Okay. So do you believe in hell?
Not in the way that most Christians do. We don't believe the Mormon view of hell is simply like a distance from God, not really a place of fire and brimstone and wailing and gnashing of teeth. We don't really believe that. And,
So not as it's described in the Bible?
No.
Gotcha. It's just interesting that you're like, yeah, the parts of the Bible that we don't like, we just say those aren't real.
We do believe that people said that. I just think that during the times, how you would describe being away from God would be a terrible thing. And how would you say that? Well, you describe it in words that aren't meant to be literal, but were taken literal.
Well, I think they're presented as if they are literal.
I think it's a spiritual book and should be interpreted as a spiritual book.
I would disagree because it presents Jesus as a real figure, but it also gives a genealogy of Jesus that includes Adam. And includes characters from the Old Testament in the lineage of Jesus. So if those are not meant to be taken literally, then is Jesus not meant to be taken literally?
I will say that the Bible is not a perfect book, and I'll get a lot of flack for this, but there are historical dramas that some parts are true and some parts are not true. And you have to realize that some parts are Hollywood makes up for the sake of spectacle. And I'm not saying that's what happened with the Bible, but some parts of the Bible, true. Some parts of the Bible, I don't think are accurate to reality.
So the lineage of Jesus you do not believe is accurate to reality?
I don't know the lineage of Jesus, so I can't speak on that. To the extent that I am aware, that I do believe to be true, is at least Jesus to his earthly parents, and then Jesus, what's the word? By antimonon, I forget the word. Of this is Jesus is of the same species as God, as are we.
What?
We are in essence the offspring of God. So if you're talking about parentage, the lineage, if you're talking from on an earthly aspect, I do believe Jesus is the child of Mary and Joseph, and is also a child of God.
Yeah, I was just more hung up on the species thing.
We are the same. I think it's Peter who said we are the offspring of God. And I'm trying to remember the word. I think it was entomological, but I could be getting it wrong. But in essence, we are the spirit children of God. That's
So
the
God
one.
is an ape?
Oh no, we don't believe. Oh, that's a tricky one.
Humans
Some people
are.
believe, yeah, some people believe that our bodies, and bodies are always questionable for me. Our bodies are our bodies, but our spirits come from God. So the origin of
Yeah, people do believe all kinds of crazy things, but is God an ape?
no, we wouldn't say that God is an ape.
Okay, so we're not the same species as God then.
Well, if you're going to assign us as the same species as God, maybe physiologically, you can say that we just inhabit a body, but spiritually we are the same species as God.
Spiritual species. That kind of feels like an oxymoron.
I don't think there's any contradiction in why we can't be spirit. If there is such a thing as spirit,
No, just specifically the phrase spiritual species, because there's not one like set definition of what species means, but the most common one is the biological definition of species. So to say that we are equivalent in our biological spirits is contradictory to me.
Well, I would put it as like an easy way for me to understand it is we are the same, just as an oak seed, it's tiny and small, it's still the same thing as an oak tree, which is massive, big, and overwhelming to look at, but it's the same thing, probably just at different stages.
Right, but it's biological. A spirit would not be biological.
We don't really, well, that's a presupposition you're putting forward. How do we know what a spirit would be?
Because if you define a spirit to be something biological, then you don't need any sort of religion to explain it.
We do believe, kind of a tangent, if you will, we do believe that all spirit is, to one degree or another, matter. Like physical, it takes up physical space, although we can't, probably with our own senses, see it or feel it. It is still something real and
Carlos,
tangible.
you're a little bit old to still be believing these sorts of things.
Okay, well, so you're calling it weird, but you're not explaining why it would be weird.
Yeah, it's just that there's not evidence for that. You're believing these very easily provable claims. Like, if it were the case that spirits had matter to them and occupied space in the body, we would have been able to find and show that by now. But that's not the case. If we were the same species as God, that would theoretically mean that we could have sex with God and reproduce. So you're just saying these things without any sort of backing behind them.
We're without any presuppositions, right? Let's just go with that. We don't know how spirits reproduce. We don't know how if spirits could be reproduced. My personal belief and the official stance of the church is that we don't know this. Like, we don't know how, but we're co-eternal with God. We've always existed.
I'm sorry, I want to stay on, though, you saying that spirits are matter and they occupy space within the body. If that were the case, we would have found that by now.
I don't see how we could have found it by now.
Because it would be in our bodies.
Scientists believe that, and this is just an analogy and it's not something that should be attributed to the Mormon belief, but you can see that scientists believe interdimensional things could exist. Okay, interdimensional stuff mathematically could exist, but we can't see it, we can't touch it, we can't feel it. So it would be the same as going to a scientist and say, hey, we would have found interdimensional particles by now.
Do we see the space where we're claiming interdimensional particles would be every single moment of our lives?
I as I've said earlier, I don't think that we're able to perceive it as of current.
But
Perhaps.
you said that it's in our bodies and it takes up space.
Well, I did not say it's in our bodies and it takes up space.
You did. You said that your belief is that spirits have matter and they take up space in our bodies. That's the entire reason I
No.
went down this line of questioning.
I said they are matter and they take up space, not in our body. Matter takes up space. Now, to what degree of space? If it's a third dimensional space, fourth dimensional space, I don't know. And I'm not going to cop out and say it's a mystery, but the Mormon belief is it's at least something that to one degree or another exists.
Okay. Oh, that means nothing then.
Well, you asked a question and I answered it.
Well, yeah, just saying, like, these things exist. They have matter. Well, we just can't find it. You would have to give me evidence for why I should believe that. I could make that claim about anything. I could say that they are tap dancing unicorns that exist. We just haven't found them yet. Does that give you reason to believe that there are tap dancing unicorns?
Let me ask you a question on that then. To what standard are we of believability are we then able to move from inaction to action? Like, yeah, if you don't see any signs of a unicorn, yeah, no action needed. But if how much?
Yeah, I don't see any sign of a spirit. I don't
No
see any
sign of
evidence
spirit.
to believe that there's a spirit.
No, there's nothing that makes you question there could be something paranormal, spiritual going on.
Correct.
And if I were to grant you one potential example of something potentially spiritual, would you consider that as potential evidence?
It would depend on what your potential evidence is. If it's, well, I watched Ghost Adventures and one time some demon farted on Zach Baggins, then no.
Yeah, my question is a level of standard. Do we have to see the ghost on video, or can we have an eyewitness? Which one are you? Which one's the standard that you have to see, and then you'll do something about it?
I think extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Saying one person saw it one time, that's not really extraordinary evidence.
I don't think that's a fair standard. If you have somebody who's missing, a loved one who's gone missing, and somebody says, "Hey, I think I saw them at Walmart," that's a pretty extraordinary claim. You haven't seen them for years and years.
It's not an extraordinary claim to say, hey, like, this person who is reasonably within this town and may reasonably go shopping at this grocery store, I saw them at this grocery store, is very different from, oh, the spiritual world actually exists, we just haven't been able to see it anywhere, and it takes up matter, but we don't know where, and also God lives on this other planet, and black people can be saved now that it's after 1978. Like, that's a very different thing than, like, oh, Joan's actually at Walmart right now.
Are you here
Now,
to...
if you said I saw them levitating through the aisles of Walmart, now yes, that would be an extraordinary claim. But just claiming that you saw a person at an everyday location is not an extraordinary claim.
So you've inserted your own analogy into what you thought I was going to say, okay? And then I'm here to
talk about what we were talking about. We said that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. I said that's not an extraordinary claim. If the claim
did-
were she was floating in Walmart, then yes, that would be an extraordinary claim.
But you finished my claim for me. I didn't get to finish my claim. May I finish my claim?
You already had said it was an extraordinary claim, but I guess if you said it's an extraordinary claim because of this part of the claim that I hadn't said yet, then sure, but that's a very strange way of phrasing it.
Firstly, you did cut me off, so I would like to finish it if that's
Well, it's after you said that it was an extraordinary claim.
I said it's an extraordinary claim, and then you said, oh, they're at Walmart? Let's see. That's not... People go to Walmart.
Yeah.
So may I finish it?
Sure. Put in your ad hoc.
Okay. Somebody's gone missing, and this happens quite often. They get addicted to drugs. You haven't seen them in years. Okay? Somebody says they saw them at Walmart. Okay? Now, that would be a claim, and no matter how likely it is that they actually saw them, you would jump up and say, I'm going to Walmart. I hope they're there. Okay? Just because the claim is small or unlikely does not mean it does not warrant an action.
Yeah, that's not what we were talking about. We were specifically saying extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence.
Yes,
not ordinary claims don't require extraordinary evidence. That's not what I was saying. Again, if the claim had been, hey, Joan, I know she'd gone missing and she was apparently, I don't know why we threw an addiction into this, but then I saw her floating down the aisles of Walmart, then it becomes an extraordinary claim. And so if someone said that, yeah, I probably wouldn't believe them. I probably would say, what do you mean you saw her floating down the aisles of Walmart? That's not something that happens. And unless they had good evidence for me to believe that she was floating down the aisles of Walmart, I wouldn't believe it. But it's not an extraordinary claim to say that you saw someone in a grocery store.
Okay, see, now you're simplifying it to just, I saw somebody at a Walmart. Okay, it's okay.
Because that's the core of it. That is what the actual claim is. The claim is that you saw her at the grocery store. I understand that there's the context of, I haven't seen this person in a while, but that doesn't mean that it's like unlikely that person would go to a grocery store, or that it's unreasonable for that person to go to a grocery store.
So let me clarify. Your standard of extraordinary needs to be beyond what is typically considered physiologically possible, like levitation.
I mean, I wouldn't say that's my absolute benchmark, because there are things that are technically possible that I also wouldn't believe if they just seem unreasonable.
Okay,
like if this person wasn't missing, if we had seen Joan just yesterday, my partner came home and is like, I saw Joan in Walmart. She was part of a flash mob to tequila. And while doing it, she poured 5 gallons of milk on the floor and declared herself king of Florida. I probably wouldn't believe that because that's very strange, but it's technically possible. Again, it's just whether or not the claim is within reasonability. If someone... Okay. I'm going to require more evidence for all hail Joan, king of Florida, versus, oh yeah, Joan was picking up some paper plates at Walmart.
I'm simply trying to point out that saying extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and I don't think that always happens.
Well, I'm not saying it always happens. I'm just saying that for people to believe them, they should ask for that evidence.
So that is your standard?
Yeah.
Okay, it must be extraordinary. Okay, that's fine. I disagree with that. I think if there's an inkling of a possibility, it's worth pursuing.
Okay, I just grew another leg.
Okay.
I just grew another leg right now.
All right.
Do you believe me?
No.
Why not?
I have actually zero evidence of that.
Okay, but is it possible?
With current physics, I don't believe so.
Oh, well, through God, all things are possible, so jot that down.
Well, firstly, I like the Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Also, Mormon theology, not all things are possible through God.
Oh, so it's not an all-powerful God. Interesting.
No, that's one of the many solves of Mormon theology is we also don't believe that God is all knowing, but we will say that God knows everything that could be known. And God doesn't have foreknowledge of everything that we're going to do because that would limit our agency.
But he's not all knowing, but he knows all things that could be known.
That can be known, yes.
That would be all knowing, then, wouldn't it?
No, not necessarily.
Okay. Usually people do the opposite. Usually they try to say, like, oh, he's all powerful except for the things that he can't do.
Well, we believe that back then, during the beginning of Peter's apostolic successions, that a degree of Hellenization took place, and they adopted Greek theology and put it into the early church. So I understand why they say...
All right, now this is getting back to my third leg. I grew a third leg. Do you believe me?
No.
Why not?
Because I have zero evidence of that. Zero, like
so you have no
zero.
evidence. So if my evidence is I tell you I'm an eyewitness and I just witnessed myself grow a third leg, is that ample evidence?
Wait, what does this have to do with Hellenization of early Christendom?
It doesn't. I'm bringing us back to the point we were on. So if I tell you my eyewitness testimony, I just grew a third leg, is that sufficient evidence for you?
No.
Why not?
Because I don't view that as remotely enough evidence for me to dig deeper.
Why not?
Well, my standard isn't it needs to be extraordinary. My standard, it needs to be possible or worth looking into.
Well, why is it not possible?
I don't think it's possible. It probably could be. I don't know.
So is it you don't think it's possible, or it probably could be?
Probably could be.
I'm telling you right now, I just witnessed it. I'm giving you my eyewitness evidence. I just grew another leg.
Although I cannot disprove it, it's not falsifiable. I don't believe it.
So are you saying that you would require more evidence than just my eyewitness testimony?
More evidence than to act on it, yes. But not
and
so much.
And is that perhaps because it's an extraordinary claim?
I don't think I have to reach the extraordinary claim part to go there.
Well, you kind of do. Because if I had just said, oh, my cup fell on the floor, you would probably just believe me if I said that, right? Would you ask me for evidence that my cup fell on the floor? Would you say that me saying that my cup fell on the floor is not sufficient evidence?
That it fell on the floor?
Yeah.
Depends on to what standard. If this is the court of law, they'll require more evidence.
In our conversation, you did not accept my eyewitness testimony that I grew another leg. Would you accept my eyewitness testimony that my cup fell on the floor?
It's more likely, so I'm more likely to believe it.
Would you accept my eyewitness testimony that my cup fell on the floor?
With such little stakes, I'm more likely to believe it for the heck of it.
So because it is not an extraordinary claim, you don't require extraordinary evidence?
So I believe that this is a subjective standard. You will have a standard like you need to see ghost on, like, for example, you'll need to see ghost, and I'm not saying this for you, but maybe you'll need to see a person levitating to believe that levitation exists, whereas I'm more likely to say, well, if somebody tells me they saw somebody, then I'll be like, okay, that's kind of, what is that about? That's my standard. And maybe you have a higher standard, and that's fine. I'm simply saying that the analogy of you have to have extraordinary evidence to an extraordinary claim, I don't think that floats.
Yeah, but I think I just demonstrated to you I made an ordinary claim and an extraordinary claim, and I offered you equal evidence for both, that evidence being my eyewitness testimony that I saw this thing happen. In one case, you said you did not believe my evidence. In another case, you said that you could believe my evidence. So there was a difference in whether or not you accepted the evidence despite the evidence being the same. The only difference then is in the claims themselves. One claim was extraordinary, me growing a third leg. One was not extraordinary, a cup falling on the floor. So, despite equal evidence, one you were willing to believe, the other you were not. And that is because one claim is more extraordinary than the other. That's all I'm trying to demonstrate. You can have equal evidence for something. If it is more extraordinary, you're less likely to believe that evidence.
Although I will say I don't exactly understand what the point is, and we're trying to. I appreciate that you're saying it. I don't understand what this has to do with anything. I just wanted to say that perhaps your level of, and maybe this is my fault, perhaps your level of I need to see this before I act is higher than what I would say I need to see this before I act.
Well, you didn't immediately believe me when I said that I could grow a third leg.
I could be wrong on the terminology, and do forgive me. I do think my accent sounds great, but I have been learning English. It is not a first language, so I'm just taking what I understand the phrase to be and assuming that that is what that means. And if I'm wrong, I do apologize. But what I'm trying to say is perhaps we have different standards that need to be met evidence-wise before we take action.
Yeah, but I don't just mean... it seems like you're talking about between you and me, but I would say for the same thing, like, we would both say, hey, I need more evidence for this than I do for this. That was very confusing. I need more evidence that a third leg was grown than I would for a cup falling on the floor. So that is because one claim is more extraordinary than the other. So an extraordinary claim like the existence of spirits would require a lot more evidence to me than my cup fell on the floor.
And if that is the meaning, then I agree with it. It just kind of seems like the word extraordinary seems subjective in definition.
To some extent it is, and it's difficult to define, but this all came back to just you asking me like what evidence I would accept of the existence of spirits. I would say a spirit is an extraordinary claim because it's something that I don't think is physically possible.
Okay, that's fine. That's fair. I have heard people who have said that they've seen other people levitate from a bed, and this person is not likely to lie. It's the quiet, shy girl, not the lying type. Do I believe it? 100% no, but for me it's enough to question. Would you question that as well?
No. Because there are people who believe in various religions that their God has caused miracles in their sight. I believe that she believes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not calling them a liar. I think if you think you saw that thing, you probably do think you saw that thing. That doesn't mean that I think it's real. Like, there used to be these like faith healers, particularly in Christianity, and they would do things where they would do like leg lengthening rituals where they would bring people up and they would say that whatever physical ailment they had was because one of their legs was the wrong length. And so they would do this like procedure / ritual where they would pray over them, and then they would hold their leg a certain way, and then they would make their leg longer right in front of the audience. But it really just came down to the position in which they were holding that person's leg that made it look like it was growing longer. It wasn't a real miracle, but all the people there were like, whoa, holy shit, they just made that guy's leg longer. It looks believable if you have genuine faith that that's something God can do. So they believed what they were seeing. That doesn't mean that it's real. So I believe that she thinks she witnessed that. I believe that everyone who witnessed the leg lengthening and says God did that, I believe they believe that. That doesn't mean I actually think that that leg lengthening was real.
Yeah, I would agree to that standard. May I ask you a statistics-based question?
Sure. I can't say that I'll have an answer.
It's not that specific. It's
okay.
Really, there are many people who have said that they've seen people who have passed on to some other life, some post-mortal existence, if you will. What would you prescribe that as? What do you think that would be?
I would prescribe that to humans searching for patterns and meaning, and humans wanting to believe that they will get to see their loved ones again. I don't think that that makes it true. I just think that we are comforted by the idea that the people that we have lost are never really gone. So sometimes we convince ourselves of things that might not really be true, just to give ourselves that comfort.
Okay. And I can agree to that to an extent, but from what I've looked into, and this is a statement of value from my point, is there seems to be, I will say, high strangeness with the accuracy of some of the things they say, or the consistency with the things that multiple people say when they go, let's say, I don't know what it would be, when they go to the other side, if you will. There's a lot of consistency or unknowable knowledge that they know.
There's a lot of intra-cultural consistency. Across cultures, there's a lot less.
Yeah, I could see that culture playing a part in it, and I do see that as a potential possibility. I also do believe that it could be mental to a degree, or psychosocial, if you will. But to me, and this is a value judgment, it does seem strange, the coincidences. Like, how many coincidences before it stops being a coincidence is pretty subjective, but to me, there does seem to be an odd correlation that I view worthwhile looking into.
Well, there's a fun experiment that a friend of mine on here did. His name's Mezzo. He did an experiment in which he flipped a coin and got heads 11 times in a row.
Wow.
Pretty crazy, right? That sounds like a insane series of coincidences. It sounds next to impossible, right?
I wouldn't say next to impossible. Unlikely.
I mean, the odds would be like 0.5 times 0.5 up until like the 11. Let me see what that would be.
I think statistically that's not how that works.
To the 0.0004% chance. Well, no, that's not percent chance. You have to move the decimal. It'd be 0.04% chance of that happening.
So 1 in 1,000?
Less than.
Okay, fair enough.
So less than 1 in 1,000% chance of that happening. But if I tell you how he did it, it's going to seem a lot less impressive. He started out with an entire bucket of pennies. So he dumped out all the pennies and kept all the ones that flipped as heads, and put away the ones that flipped tails. And he kept doing that round after round. All the ones that landed on heads he kept. He got rid of all the ones that landed on tails. And he was able to do 11 rounds and then didn't get any more that landed on heads. So, sure, it seems like something super unlikely, but if you start with an entire bucket of pennies, it's not that impressive that you have one penny that landed on heads 11 times. So if you're talking about coincidences, there's something that's super unlikely, but it happened just because the odds were tipped in favor of it happening. By flipping so many pennies at once, then yeah, you kind of get to control the conditions, and you can say, oh, I flipped heads 11 times. That on its own sounds very strange. But that doesn't mean that it actually is. So that's my feeling on coincidences. I think sometimes we attribute a lot more to them than is actually there.
I can agree with that. I think that the coincidences I'm referring to are mind-boggling, so there's no easy way for me to explain it by mere coincidence. So the hope is that it's not mere coincidence, but technically, it could truly just be pure coincidence. I will
And
concede that.
that's what I'm inclined to believe. Carlos, I do have a few other people here. We've been talking for about 35 minutes now, so I am going to go ahead and let you go, but I appreciate you coming on up.
Thanks for the talk.
Yep, you have a good one. Next up, we are going over to TikTok. Hopefully he's still here. Daryl, you there?
Yeah, I actually have to go shortly here.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. I'm gonna go see a movie with my wife, so.
Oh, what movie?
But scary movie.
Oh, it's not good. Sorry.
It's okay. I'll go and gather my own opinion, or form my own opinion, I should say. But I do see you on here often, and I do want to ask a question, just so I can know if I should come back next time.
Okay.
In a hypothetical universe, if Christianity was true, would you be a Christian?
You're going to have to tell me what you mean by it being true.
Like if everything about Christianity were true.
That's logically impossible because there are contradictions in the Bible itself. So it's not logically possible for everything in the Bible to be true. So what aspects are you saying are true?
Just hypothetically, if everything made sense and
yeah,
everything...
even in a hypothetical, it has to be logically possible.
Okay, but in this universe, everything makes sense, everything's right, and Christianity is true.
Okay, so then what parts of Christianity are you taking away?
Okay, so you're basically saying no.
No, I'm saying it would be logically impossible for all parts of Christianity to be true. So if you're going to say
the hypothetical is just...
Yeah, but you can't. You have to then tell me what parts of Christianity you are removing. Are you removing that God is all loving, that God is all powerful? Like what aspects that are contradictory are you taking out in order to make it logically possible?
Sorry, that's my dryer. Yeah. Again, in the hypothetical, everything would have to make sense. But it sounds like you're saying no. So, yeah.
Well, I'm saying it can't make sense. You would have to explain to me how it would make sense.
It's totally a hypothetical. So I'm saying if it made sense, if it all were true, you can say yes or no. It's like, yeah, I would.
But can I hypothetically have a married bachelor?
Yeah. So I'm gonna just take your answer as no. It's okay.
Well, okay. I guess if you just don't want to recognize contradiction. Can you hypothetically have a married bachelor?
Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna take your answer as no.
Daryl, why are you just completely
it was a yes or no? It was a yes or no question.
No, there's more nuance to it. And mine is a yes or no question. Can you hypothetically have a married bachelor?
Again, it was a yes or no question, and
okay, and I'll explain to you. Hypothetically, no, you cannot have a married bachelor because that is a logical contradiction. So even in the context of hypotheticals, it has to be logically possible, so it cannot be contradictory. Because there are contradictions in the Bible, you would have to tell me what parts are being removed in order to make it logically possible.
It's okay to just say no. I get it. That's why it was a hypothetical, yes or no. Because in my hypothetical, I said everything was right, everything makes sense. So that means it makes sense to you. So that means if in this universe everything made sense, everything was true, would you accept it, yes or no?
Okay, what parts of Christianity are you removing to make that the case?
Yeah. Alrighty. What's your name?
Robot Goat.
Oh, okay. All right, Robot Goat. I will accept your answer. It's your answer is basically contingent on it changing instead of just accepting a yes or no.
My answer is contingent on it being logically possible. If Christianity has to change in order to be logically possible, that's not a fault of mine. That's a fault of Christianity's.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay to just say no. You know, I don't know why you have a problem saying no, but
I don't know why you have a problem with nuance.
I don't.
It seems you do, because you're asking a very leading question, because Christians ask this question because they expect people to say no so they can then say, well, see, look, your heart's just hardened, your heart posture's all wrong, you've been given over to a reprobate mind, so you're not even worth my time. But it's more nuanced than that, because...
I have none of those intentions. I was just engaging in conversation. But yes,
Well, you
yes.
did... Daryl, I gotta point out, you did say you were specifically asking me this question to see if I was worth talking to.
I said to see if I would come back, but
right, which is to see if I was worth talking to.
Sure, we can. Sure, I don't have time for semantics, but
apparently you
do. But nevertheless, I mean, I'm not here to judge you at all or anything like that. That's not what I'm doing. If you have made up your mind, you've made up your mind. Well, it was a yes or no question, and you refused to say yes or no.
Yeah, because I'm asking for clarification that you're refusing to provide.
Yes, got it. Well, Robot Goat, it was great talking to you. I shall depart.
Bye.
Oops. Hey, do this thing. Apparently, I don't know how to leave.
I gotcha. All right. Jesse, you're back.
I am.
Is your name spelled with an I-E or just an E?
It doesn't really matter, does it?
Well, I'm typing it out and I want to spell it right.
No, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's pronounced the same way, so.
All
you do
right.
what feels right.
I'll do whatever feels right.
You know, we may not agree, but maybe you're not the worst thing ever.
Watch some Gallivant, huh?
I did.
That's like a second season song, so you must have binged.
I really deep dived, you know.
Yeah, so what brings you back?
Well, I just, well, the Mormon guy, he was pretty good. You know, I think he had a lot of good points that you kind of skipped over. But mostly what I wanted to do was pull up the Webster Dictionary, and under atheist, there is a did you know portion that says how agnostic differs from atheist. And the definition is atheist and agnostic appear in the same context but are distinct in meaning. Atheist refers to someone who does not believe in the existence of a god or any gods. Agnostic has two relevant meanings. It can refer to someone who holds the view that any ultimate reality, such as God, is unknown and probably unknowable, or it can refer to someone who is not committed to believing in either the existence or non-existence of God or God.
Well, I appreciate you coming back to show that I was right.
How so?
The thing that you just read completely lines up with what I said earlier.
How so?
That agnostic refers to whether or not I think that we can have knowledge of God or not, and that I think that if there is a God, it would be beyond our understanding, and atheist is to not have a belief in God.
Say that again?
You want me to say all that again? How agnostic refers to whether or not we can have knowledge of God, and how I think that ultimately, if there is a God, it would be unknowable for us, and atheism is not having a belief in God.
You realize those are contradictory statements, right?
Nope. They're not contradictory. You're again conflating lacking a belief to having a to saying there is no God versus I don't have a belief in God are different claims. If I say there is no God, that is me making a definitive statement that God does not exist. If I say, well, I don't really have a belief in God, that's not me saying there is no God. That's me saying I do not have a belief in a God or gods. And that's what I was trying to describe to you earlier.
But an atheist refers to someone who does not believe
Yeah,
in the
that's
existence of a
different
God.
in saying an atheist refers to someone who believes there is no God. Not believe is the same as lacking belief. So they lack belief in a God. That's different from saying there is no God.
So you believe there's no God?
No. I lack a belief in God. How many times do I have to tell you this?
You said you believe there's no God, and you said I lack a belief in God. That's the same exact statement.
It's not the exact same statement. One is definitively claiming God's non-existence.
I lack a belief in God, and I do not believe there is a God. Is the same statement.
But I believe there is no God is a different statement.
Yeah, I didn't say you said that. I said you were an agnostic atheist, which does not make any sense.
Jesse, if I say I lack a belief in God, that is not the same thing as me saying there is no God. I have a belief that there is no God. It's a separate state. I do not hold the belief that there is no God.
You're saying that there's not any God. I'm saying you lack a belief in God, which would make you an atheist, not an agnostic.
But I also think
An
that
agnostic believes that that the existence of a God would ultimately be unknowable.
Right, so that's why I don't have a belief in a God, because I don't think it is possible to have knowledge of this God.
An agnostic atheist.
Yes, you can.
No, you can't.
Based on the definition you just read to me, which aligns exactly with what I've been saying this entire fucking time, you can.
Why would Webster Dictionary put a reference to what the difference between the two is?
Because they're two separate things. One refers to...
You're right, they are two separate things.
So one refers to belief, the other refers to knowledge. So one refers to belief in God or lack thereof, and one refers to knowledge of God or lack thereof. So that's the distinction. They are not the same term. That's why they are distinguishing between what it means to be agnostic, what it means to be agnostic, and what it means to be atheist. Because you can be one and not the other. I have had Gnostic atheists on here. I have had agnostic Christians on here. I've had agnostic atheists on here. I've had Gnostic Christians. I've had every variety. One refers to belief, one refers to knowledge.
No, they don't, according to the definition.
You read the definition and it aligns with what I just said.
Atheist refers to someone who does not believe
in
belief. The existence of a God.
Belief, yes, correct, like I just said.
No, you didn't. You didn't.
You think you can gaslight me that easily?
I'm not gaslighting you. I'm telling you what you said.
I said it 30 seconds ago, and you're like, you didn't say that. Hello?
Okay. What is an atheist?
A person who lacks a belief in God.
Okay. Are you a person that lacks a belief in God?
I lack a belief in God.
Okay. An agnostic is a person who holds the view, which I would call a belief, I think that's the definition of it, that any ultimate reality, such as a supreme being, is unknown and probably unknowable.
Correct.
Okay.
That also is my viewpoint.
So you have both of those viewpoints.
Correct.
You believe that if there could be a God, you don't believe there's a God.
I believe if there is a God, he would be unknowable to us. Because of that, I lack a belief in any God.
Okay. Which are you? Are you an atheist? An agnostic? You can't be both.
I just demonstrated to you how I was both.
No, you can't.
I literally just explained it to you like 5 times, Jesse. How many times are we going on this scary go-round? Get me off! Not that way. Like, I don't know how many more ways I can explain this to you.
I just think you're silly.
The feeling's very mutual, Jesse.
Well, you're committed to gaslighting people anyway. I mean, that's the entire
No,
stream.
I'm the one gaslighting?
Yeah.
You just told me I didn't say
You're-
something I said
the
not a
title of
minute
your-
before.
The title of your stream is Christians Defend Atrocities. You think you're not gaslighting people?
What is gaslighting? Oh, you're on Merriam-Webster. Look it up.
Sure, let's do it. It says to light a gas lantern. Well,
No. That's obviously not the meaning we're referring to.
okay.
Just look it up in Oxford like you're doing right now.
The act or practice of grossly misleading someone, especially for one's own advantage.
That's what Oxford says?
Correct.
You're on Oxford right now?
Oh no, I'm not on Oxford. I'm on Merriam-Webster.
You said you're on Oxford.
I don't think I said Oxford.
No, you did. You said you were on Oxford like 2 minutes ago, Jesse.
Does it
Like,
matter? Dude,
everyone
you
in
can-
here, everyone in
well,
here remembers that you said you were.
Oxford.
I'm gonna have to mute you because you're sounding crazy right now. You definitely said you were using Oxford Dictionary, so I don't know why suddenly you've changed your mind and said that you're reading from Merriam-Webster. That's a really weird thing to lie about, Jesse.
It is. It's almost like you're gaslighting me.
Almost like I'm what?
Gaslighting.
What does that mean?
It means to light a gas lantern, I think.
And that's according to what?
Jesus. He told me.
Mm-hmm. Do you understand what gaslighting is now?
No.
Okay, that's fair. Just thought I'd give you like a little demonstration there. So yeah, me saying that Christians defend atrocities, not gaslighting. Just
Sure.
think we proved that pretty well.
Mm-hmm. We sure did. Everyone feels better.
I do.
I know you do.
I feel a weight lifted off of me, like I just took my first shit in a week.
Oh. Well, you know, Ozempic will do that to you.
If I were on Ozempic, wouldn't I be skinny?
You're not fat.
Why'd you bring up Ozempic then?
It's, you know, a popular reference
Yeah, popular reference to what?
to people not shitting for weeks. It's a common
it?
side effect. It is. It's a pretty common side effect.
Yeah, I feel like when people think of Ozempic, they don't think, oh, the constipation thing.
Oh, you're not in the same field that I am.
Are you
You're in
fucking
the
kidding me?
field of
I
that.
just got restricted for saying Ozempic.
Gosh.
TikTok said because I was talking about weight management, I'm restricted.
Well, that's not fair.
Yeah, well, can't always get what we want.
We can't.
But appreciate the little bit of body shaming on your way out. You got anything else you want to say?
I didn't body shame you. I mentioned a common side effect of a drug.
Oh, it just happens to be like a weight loss drug. So, anything else you want to say?
No, not particularly.
All right, bye, Jesse.
Bye-bye.
Well, I hope we all had a great time. And with that, since it just seems like the right moment, I'm gonna go ahead and call it. We've been going for close to 3 hours. So if you are not already following and or subscribed, please do that now. So maybe I can afford Ozempic. I'm kidding. TikTok, I'm kidding. We had a lot. Yeah, Scary Go Round Olympics is a great way of putting it. I appreciate you all being here. We're going to go over to Joel and Mezzos. Fuck, I gotta come up with another thing for us to do. We're just gonna give them a genuine positive comment. We're not gonna say anything weird or out of the ordinary. We're gonna give them that interaction, that engagement. Don't talk about anything in particular. Just give them genuine positive feedback, and they won't ever know that I sent you guys to do it. It's gonna fuck with their heads. See you guys over on Jezzo. TikTok, you guys are gonna be the first to go. Bye. And next up, YouTube, you are getting the cut. Bye.